The baby in your arms is mine. Ju's hands trembled as he stared at the DNA test results. Impossible. The doctor said he could never have children ever. But the little boy with his dark eyes was living proof that everything he believed was a lie. Before we continue, if you love dramatic romance stories with unexpected twists, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our next upload. Ju sat alone in his huge mansion staring at another failed medical report. For 5 years, every doctor told him the same thing. He would never father a child. His family, powerful and traditional, whispered behind his back. His rivals laughed, saying a man who couldn't have an heir wasn't a real leader. The shame burned inside him like fire. At 32, Ju had everything: money, power, fear. His enemies crossed the street when they saw him coming. Politicians answered his calls at midnight, but none of it mattered without a son to pass it to. His arranged wife had left him 2 years ago, throwing her wedding ring at his feet and calling him half a man. Those words haunted him every night. Now his uncles were pressuring him to step down and let his cousin Miho take over the family business. A tree without roots will fall, his uncle had said at last week's meeting, looking at him with pity and disgust. Tonight, Ju had to fly to New York for a secret weapons deal. Maybe getting away from Seoul would help him forget his cursed fate, even if just for a moment. He grabbed his coat and headed to the airport, not knowing his entire life was about to change. The underground auction in New York was crowded with dangerous people bidding on stolen art. Ju stood in the shadows, bored and cold, watching criminals pretend to be sophisticated. Then he saw her. Ava, a young black woman with bright eyes and a beautiful smile, was examining a painting like it held all the secrets of the universe. She worked for the gallery, not knowing the art was stolen or that everyone around her was a criminal. When their eyes met across the room, something strange happened. Ju felt his frozen heart skip a beat. She looked at him with curiosity, not fear, like she couldn't sense the danger radiating from him. After the auction, he found her outside in the rain, struggling with her broken umbrella. "That painting you loved?" "It's a fake," he said in perfect English. Ava laughed, surprised by his boldness. "And you're an art expert?" she teased back. They talked for hours at a coffee shop, neither knowing this one conversation would change everything. Ava told him about her dreams of opening her own gallery. Joe, careful not to reveal his true identity, said he worked in family business. As dawn broke over the city, they stood outside her subway station, neither wanting to leave. The connection between them felt electric, impossible to ignore. When he kissed her softly, asking if she wanted to continue this conversation somewhere private, Ava surprised herself by saying yes. Ava knew she shouldn't go to a stranger's hotel room, but Ju felt different, safe somehow. They talked about art, about dreams, about loneliness in big cities. He told her about feeling pressured by family expectations, and she understood more than he knew. When he kissed her deeper this time, the world outside disappeared. That night became magical, passionate, and tender. Something impossible happened. Ju felt his broken body respond in ways the doctors said would never happen again. For the first time in 5 years, he felt whole. The next morning, Ju's phone exploded with emergency calls. A rival family had attacked one of his warehouses in Seoul, killing 3 of his men. "I have to leave immediately," he told Ava, hurriedly getting dressed. "I'm sorry. This is important." He scribbled his private number on hotel paper and placed it on the nightstand. "Call me, please." This meant something. But in his panicked rush to catch his private jet, the paper slipped under the bed, lost and forgotten. Ava woke up alone 2 hours later to an empty room and an empty feeling in her chest. No note, no number, no last name. She sat on the bed and cried, feeling foolish for trusting a stranger with her heart and body. She searched the room desperately but found nothing. How could she have been so stupid? He'd used her and disappeared like morning fog, leaving her with nothing but memories of the most perfect night of her life. 3 weeks later, Ava felt sick every morning. At first, she blamed it on stress from her demanding job at the gallery. But when her period didn't come and her breasts felt tender, cold fear gripped her heart. She bought 3 pregnancy tests, hands shaking in the pharmacy line. All 3 showed 2 pink lines. Positive. No, 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 she whispered, sliding down her bathroom wall in shock. She was only 24 years old, barely making rent in her tiny Brooklyn apartment, still paying off student loans. And she was pregnant by a man whose last name she didn't know, who had disappeared without a trace. For weeks, Ava cried herself to sleep, terrified and alone. She tried everything to find Ju. She went back to the auction house, but they refused to give information about buyers. She described him to every Korean business owner in the city. She even hired a cheap private investigator who took her money and found nothing. As her belly started to grow and her clothes got tight, Ava faced the hardest decision of her life. Abortion felt wrong to her personally, but raising a baby alone in expensive New York City seemed impossible. Her parents were dead, and she had no family to help. Still, when she felt the first flutter of movement in her belly, something shifted. This baby was half of her. Maybe the only good thing to come from that magical night. She placed her hand on her stomach and whispered, "I'll protect you, little one, even if your father never knows you exist." Ju's life became a nightmare. His cousin Miho was poisoning the family against him, spreading rumors that a leader without an heir was cursed by the ancestors. Business partners started canceling deals, afraid to associate with a dying bloodline. At a tense family meeting, his uncle slammed the table so hard the teacups jumped. "You have 6 months to produce an heir or step down. This is not negotiable." Ju wanted to scream that he couldn't, that every doctor had declared it medically impossible, but pride kept his mouth shut. Meanwhile, 7,000 m away in New York, Ava held her newborn son in the hospital, tears streaming down her face. "Hello, Kai," she whispered to the tiny baby with a head full of black hair. The moment she looked into his eyes, dark and intense like his father's, her heart filled with overwhelming love, but also guilt. This beautiful boy would grow up never knowing his father because she couldn't find him. As Kai grew from baby to toddler, he looked more like Ju every single day. Same eyes, same nose, same serious expression when concentrating on his toys. Ava's conscience tortured her. She was working 2 jobs just to afford daycare, exhausted and broke. While somewhere in the world, Kai's father lived in luxury without knowing his son existed. When Kai turned 1 year old, Ava made a decision. She would find Ju, even if it took her last dollar. A Korean art dealer finally recognized her description and showed her a news article. "That's Ju Han, one of the most powerful mafia bosses in Seoul." Ava's blood turned to ice. A criminal, a dangerous man. But Kai deserved to know his father no matter the cost. Ava arrived at Jay's massive company building in Seoul with baby Kai strapped to her chest, her heart pounding so loud she thought everyone could hear it. The lobby was all marble and intimidating men in black suits. When security guards moved to block her, she gathered all her courage and shouted loud enough for the entire floor to hear. "Tell Johan that Ava from New York is here with his son." The words echoed through the silent lobby like a bomb. Upstairs in a tense board meeting, Ju froze when his assistant rushed in and whispered the message in his ear. "Impossible," he breathed, but his legs were already moving, nearly running to the elevator. His heart raced with emotions he couldn't name. Hope, fear, anger. When the elevator doors opened to the lobby and he saw her, Ava, the woman who'd haunted his dreams for over a year, holding a baby boy with his exact face, just so forgot how to breathe. "This is Kai," Ava said quietly, her voice trembling but determined. "Your son. I tried to find you for months. I thought you should know he exists." Ju's guards immediately surrounded them, hands on their guns, thinking this American woman was part of some elaborate trap or blackmail scheme. But Ju couldn't stop staring at the baby who had his eyes, his nose, his chin, even the same serious expression he saw in his own mirror every morning. "Get out," he told his men coldly, his voice deadly calm, but his hands shaking. "All of you." Now, after they reluctantly left, He stepped closer and whispered the question that was tearing him apart. How is this possible? Every doctor told me I could never have children. They all said it was medically impossible. Ju didn't trust easily. In his world, trust got you killed. His mind immediately went to conspiracy theories and traps. This could be an elaborate trick, he said harshly, his voice cold as ice despite his racing heart. My enemies would do anything to destroy me. You could be working for them. Ava's eyes filled with hurt tears, making him feel like a monster. I came here to do the right thing, not to trap you or ask for money, she said, voice shaking with anger and pain. I worked 2 jobs to raise him alone. I never wanted anything from you. But Kai deserves to know his father exists. She shifted the baby in her arms and Kai reached out toward Ju with tiny hands, babbling happily. Something cracked in Ju's chest, but years of betrayal made him step back. Test him, Ava said, lifting her chin with dignity. Prove yours with science. Then I'll take my son back to America and raise him alone like I've been doing. You'll never have to see us again. I just wanted you to know the truth. She wrote down her hotel information and walked out with her head high, leaving Ju standing in his empty office, staring at the address in his hand. 3 agonizing days later, Ju sat in his private doctor's office, hands trembling so badly he could barely hold the paper. 9.9% match, the doctor said, his voice full of shock and wonder. Mr. Han, you are definitely the biological father. This is medically incredible, miraculous. Even your condition should have made this completely impossible. This child shouldn't exist according to everything we know about your medical history. But he does. He's your son. Ju couldn't hear anything else over the roaring in his ears. He had a son. A real living heir. The thing he'd wanted most in the entire world. The thing that made him feel like half a man had been alive and breathing for over a year while he suffered in ignorance. Emotions crashed through him. Joy, rage, wonder, betrayal at fate's cruel timing. But when he raced to the hotel to find Ava and Kai to apologize and figure out what came next, the room was empty. She checked out hours ago and boarded a plane back to America, taking his miracle away with her. Ju became a man possessed by a single purpose. Within hours, his network of contacts tracked Aa's flight to JFK Airport. By the next day, he knew her exact address in Brooklyn, her work schedule at both jobs, even what time she put Kai to bed. Each night, he flew to New York on his private jet, rented a car, and found himself parked outside her apartment building like a stalker, watching through her lit windows. Every instinct he developed as a ruthless mafia boss screamed at him to kick down that door and take what was rightfully his son, his heir, his miracle. He had the power and money to make her disappear and keep Kai in Korea where he belonged. But something stopped him. The memory of Ava's tears when he'd accused her of lying and the dignity in her voice when she'd walked away asking for nothing. For 3 weeks, Ju watched them from the shadows like a ghost. He saw Ava leave for her morning shift at a coffee shop at 5 a.m. exhausted and running on no sleep. He saw her rush home to get Kai from the elderly neighbor who babysat, then leave again for her evening job at a restaurant. Not getting home until nearly midnight, he watched her cry while washing dishes in her tiny kitchen, watched her sing lullabies to Kai through the window, her voice beautiful and heartbreaking. She was suffering, working herself to death, struggling to afford diapers and rent in one of the most expensive cities in the world. And here was the thing that broke through Ju's cold heart. She could have done this differently. She could have demanded millions of dollars to stay quiet. She could have sold her story to the media, exposing him and destroying his reputation. She could have used Kai as a weapon to blackmail him. Instead, she'd simply told him the truth and left, asking for nothing, prepared to raise his son in poverty rather than trap a man who didn't want them. When Miho called that night saying the family was demanding proof of an heir immediately or they'd force him out within days, Ju made a decision that would change all their lives forever. Ava nearly dropped Kai when she opened her apartment door to find Ju standing there in an expensive suit that probably cost more than her entire year's rent. "What are you doing here?" she gasped, instinctively pulling her son closer to her chest, protective and afraid. How had he found her? What did he want? Was he here to take Kai away from her? Ju's eyes softened when he looked at Kai, drinking in every detail of his son's face with desperate hunger. Then his expression hardened with determination and something that looked almost like fear. "Marry me," he said bluntly, no romance or sweetness in his tone. "Come to Korea as my wife. Let me claim my son publicly as my heir. I'll give you everything. Security, money, protection, citizenship, anything you want." "Are you completely crazy?" Ava stepped back, nearly laughing at the absurdity. "I don't even know you. We spent one night together over a year ago. You're a criminal, a mafia boss. I came to Korea to do the right thing and let you know Kai existed, not to become part of your dangerous world. My son could get killed." Her voice rose with each word, all her fear and anger pouring out. Ju moved closer, his voice dropping to something raw and desperate that she'd never heard before. "My family will kill me if I don't produce an heir. Actually, kill me. This isn't a metaphor. Rival gangs are already attacking my businesses because they think I'm weak and my bloodline is ending. My cousin is planning a coup. I have maybe weeks before I'm dead or dethroned. But if you marry me, if I can present Kai as my legitimate heir, everything changes. He'll be protected by the most powerful family and soul. You'll have everything you need and never work 3 jobs again. And his voice cracked slightly. I can secure my position and actually be a father to my son." Ava shook her head, tears forming. "So, we're just tools for your power? Just chess pieces in your mafia game?" Ju's carefully controlled mask cracked completely, and for a moment, she saw raw pain and wonder in his eyes. "No," he whispered. "You're the miracle I stopped believing in. Both of you. I know I don't deserve you, but please give me a chance." Ava couldn't sleep for 3 days. Her mind spun in circles, weighing impossible choices. Ju didn't pressure her, but he didn't leave New York either. He checked into a hotel nearby and showed up every evening, not with more proposals, but with groceries, offering to cook dinner. He brought toys for Kai and sat on her worn carpet, playing peekaboo with his son for hours, laughing at the baby's giggles with pure joy on his usually cold face. "I missed his birth," just said one night, his voice thick with regret as he cradled Kai. "I missed his first smile, his first laugh, probably his first words soon. I missed a whole year of his life because fate played a cruel joke on us both. I can't miss anymore. Please don't ask me to." The raw pain in his voice made Ava's heart ache. She saw how gently he touched Kai, how his dangerous hands became soft when holding his son. "I'm scared," Ava finally admitted, sitting next to him on the floor. "Your world is violent. You said yourself that people want to kill you. What kind of life is that for an innocent child? What happens when he's older and learns what his father does for a living? What if he gets kidnapped or hurt because of your enemies?" Her voice broke on the last words, her worst fears spilling out. Ju looked at his son with such fierce love, it was almost frightening. "I'll protect him with my last breath. And you too. I swear on everything I am. Yes, my world is dangerous. But do you know what's more dangerous? Raising him here in poverty where you can't afford good medical care. Where you're too exhausted to watch him properly because you're working 3 jobs. I've been watching you, Ava. You're drowning." He wasn't wrong. And Ava hated that. Her landlord had threatened to evict her last week. Ka developed a cough from the cold apartment because she couldn't afford to fix the heating. She was drowning. 6 months, Ava said finally, her voice steady even though her hands shook. "I'll give you 6 months in Korea. We'll pretend to be a real married couple for your family. But if it doesn't work, if your world is too dangerous, or if this arrangement isn't good for Kai, I'm taking him back to America, and you'll never stop me. Do you understand?" Ju's smile could have melted ice. He pulled out a small box containing a stunning diamond ring and slipped it on her finger. "Deal. Thank you for giving us a chance." Arriving in Seoul as Ju's sudden wife felt like being thrown into a lion's den. His mansion was enormous, more like a palace than a home with guards at every entrance and cameras everywhere. At the family meeting the next day, Ava sat next to Ju holding Kai while 30 pairs of hostile eyes stared at her. The uncles and cousins whispered in Korean, their disgust obvious, even without understanding the words. A Black American, Miho sneered in Korean, thinking Ava couldn't understand. She'd been learning the language from apps on her phone for months. This is an insult to our family's honor. He brings this nobody and expects us to accept her mongrel child as the heir. I won't stand for it. Ju's hand tightened on Ava's under the table, nearly crushing her fingers. This is my wife and the mother of my heir, he said in deadly calm English so Ava would understand he was defending her. DNA tests confirm Kai is my biological son. My miracle. You will show them respect or leave this family permanently. The tension in the room could have started fires. Miho looked like he wanted to kill them both right there. That night at the mansion, Ju showed Ava and Kai their rooms. A beautiful suite, but separate from his own bedroom. I know this is a business arrangement, he said stiffly, looking uncomfortable. I won't pressure you for anything beyond the public appearance of being married. You and Kai are safe here, but as weeks passed, something unexpected started to shift between them. Ju came home early. Every day just to see Kai, teaching his son Korean words and playing with him for hours. He hired a language tutor for Ava and made sure she had everything she needed. He protected her from his cruel family's comments and always stood by her side. And when Miho's men tried to kidnap Kai from the private park where Ava was playing with him one afternoon, Ju arrived like an avenging angel. She'd never seen such violence. Ju beat the three men bloody with his bare hands, breaking bones and not stopping until they were unconscious. Touch my family again and I'll kill you slowly, he roared at them, his voice inhuman with rage. Then he scooped up Kai and turned to Ava, checking every inch of them for injuries, his hands shaking with leftover adrenaline and fear. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? Tell me. The raw terror and love in his eyes made something click in Ava's chest. This wasn't just about power or heirs anymore. Watching him hold Kai afterward, whispering Korean promises of protection while blood dripped from his knuckles, Ava realized with shock that she was falling in love with her fake husband. And that terrified her more than any kidnapping attempt. Everything seemed almost perfect until the day that shattered Ava's world into pieces. She was walking past Jess's home office when she heard his assistant on the phone speaking in English. Yes, the plan is working perfectly, the assistant said in a cold businesslike tone. Once the 6 months are finished and he is legal guardianship rights to the child through Korean law, he'll send the American woman back home and keep the boy here. Boss Ju was very clear about this from the beginning. He only needs her until Kai is legally registered as his heir in the Korean family registry. After that, she becomes unnecessary. Ava's heart stopped beating. Her blood turned to ice water in her veins. She pressed her hand against the wall to keep from collapsing, feeling like she'd been punched in the stomach. All of it had been a lie. Every gentle touch, every soft word, every moment of seeming vulnerability, calculated manipulation to trap her. The sweet bedtime stories Ju read to Kai. The way he'd held her hand at family dinners, the kiss on her forehead last night when he thought she was sleeping. All of it was fake. Just a performance to keep her compliant until he could legally steal her son. She'd been so stupid, believing that a dangerous mafia boss could actually care about her. Believing that their one magical night had meant something real, Ava stumbled to Kai's nursery, hot tears streaming down her face as she looked at her sleeping son. I'm so sorry, baby, she whispered. Mommy made a terrible mistake bringing you here. That night, while Ju was at a late meeting with his weapons dealers, Ava moved like a ghost through the mansion. She packed a small backpack with just essentials, diapers, Kai's favorite stuffed animal, her passport. She couldn't take much, or the guards would notice. She wrapped Kai in warm blankets, her hands shaking so badly she could barely manage the buckles on his carrier. Her heart was breaking into a million pieces, but she had to protect her son. She'd find a way to get to the American embassy, claim she was being held against her will, and demand help getting back to the United States. It would cause an international incident, but she didn't care anymore. She reached the mansion's back entrance, hand on the doorknob, so close to freedom. The door suddenly opened from the outside. Ju stood there, his white shirt splattered with blood, his eyes wild and desperate. "There's been an attack at the family compound," he said breathlessly. "My uncle is dead and Miho is claiming I killed him to seize total power. The police are coming to arrest me within the hour." His eyes dropped to her packed bag. Takai bundled in her arms, ready for travel, and understanding crashed over his face like a wave. "You were leaving," he said, his voice cracking with betrayal and pain. "You were taking my son and running away." Before Ava could explain, before she could scream at him about what she'd overheard, police sirens began wailing in the distance. Getting closer, Miho appeared behind Ju with 5 armed men, a twisted smile spreading across his cousin's face like poison. "Hello, cousin," Miho said sweetly, pulling out a gun and aiming it directly at Jay's chest. "Thank you for making this so easy. Now, the American woman and the bastard child will witness you resisting arrest and getting killed for it. Then, I'll comfort the poor widow, take control of the family as the last remaining heir, and send her back to America where she belongs. Everyone wins except you." Ava screamed as Miho's finger tightened on the trigger. Ju moved faster than thought, shoving Ava and Kai behind him as the gun fired. Did Ju survive the gunshot? What will Ava do now? Was the conversation Ava overheard real or another one of Miho's tricks to destroy their family? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Ava should have trusted Ju, or was she right to try to escape? Was Ju really planning to send her away, or is there more to the story? Don't forget to like this video, share it with friends who love dramatic romance, and subscribe for part 2 where all the shocking secrets will be revealed. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss what happens.